and welcome to Quonk. In this episode, we'll be learning how to sculpt a helmet, which we can later use for hard surface modeling of the actual helmet. First, start with a base mesh. If you don't have one, you can download one from blendswap.com. First, create a new mesh. Then, move it to the location of the head. Shrink it down. Make sure its x coordinates are on 0, so it sits in the middle of the base mesh. Align it with the head. Scale it down a little more in edit mode. And then that should be done. Now, rename this Helmet Sculpt and add a multi-res modifier. Subdivide it 3 times to get the level of detail needed. Maybe a 4th time. Then enter sculpt mode. You can easily change back into edit mode to scale it up or whatever you want, but don't make too many edits once you've put it into multi-resolution. So first, let's add some size to it. Currently, the symmetry is sent to mirror across the x-axis, so anything you do on the left side will be transferred to the right and vice versa. First, let's add a visor. Add some mass here. Then, add a gas mask. You can increase the strength to increase the speed at which you work. Now, we'll add some plates along the side. Notice that this is all very low detail. We can add detail later with additional subdivisions. Right now, we'll just put it back onto 4, and we can add subdivisions later. We'll also add some mass at the back of the head. Let's smooth that down by holding Shift to turn our brush into a smooth tool. Alternatively, you can just switch to the smooth tool and use it like that. However, this is unnecessary since you can turn any brush into the smooth tool by holding the Shift key. Let's get that slightly bigger, and we'll add the plate on the top of the head. There. And there. We can flatten this out with the flatten tool. We'll do that here. Then we can subdivide it further for more detail and start fleshing out the smaller areas. We'll separate this bit. We'll build it up here and separate it from the back plate by adding some mass around the edge. Let's just go down here, get this bit bigger. And then separate the two plates with the flatten tool. So we'll flatten it along here. Maybe increase the strength. Then flatten it around here to add a creasing effect. To add further definition, press Ctrl to create indents with the brush instead of adding mass, and put an indent along there. Then flatten the surface in between. Now we'll add a definition between the head plates by switching back to the clay strips brush, pressing Ctrl to indent, and then putting a crease along here. If you've gone over the side like I have, smooth it over by holding Shift. Now, smooth over the top and flatten it to create a better plate. Now, let's get to work on the visor. To separate the visor on the top plate, I'm going to add a strip of metal across here, which will cut there and across into the center. We'll then flatten it and get to work on the visor. To separate the visor from the gas mask, I'm going to add another crease with the clay strips. So the visor will start here and move across to there to cover the mouth. However, because this bump looks like part of the gas mask instead of the visor, we're going to reduce the size by holding Control and scraping our brush across it, then smoothing it over, so it becomes one with the rest of the visor. You might see here that the visor has been indented so much that the base mesh of the head is showing through, so I'll just build over that and smooth it over. Now, get to work on the gas mask again. We'll add some mass in the middle here, and off to the sides. Then we'll start flattening it off with the flatten tool. So we'll go in the middle, smooth it over with Shift. And then maybe we'll make the middle a bit more massive than the rest of it so it protrudes out, like such. Make the brush bigger so it smooths it all at once. Then we'll flatten the side. Then indent this area. Flatten this plane again. And then smooth off this area. Now the gas mask is separate from the visor. The visor itself looks a bit round as well, so we'll add some distinct sharp planes to match the rest of the helmet. We'll smooth off this area, flatten this. It's gone in too far, we'll undo that. Again, smooth it up. It's really a bit tight to the face. Smooth it over. Flatten. No. Maybe we'll bring that out a bit so it's not so tight to the face. So I'll get the grab tool, then we'll grab in the middle here and pull it out like that. I think that looks slightly better. We'll just grab again, pull it out like that. And that looks good. Now I'll just smooth it over. Flatten this plane here. And then we'll separate this from the side of the helmet by adding a crease with the clay tool along here. Now I'm going to add some earpieces on the side of the helmet. So I'll put them along there, like this. Maybe build them up a bit more. How far does that come out? Okay, good. Now I'll flatten it. And I think that looks good. Now we'll add this piece of machinery that comes around here. So it comes out about as far as the earpiece. Doesn't necessarily need flattening actually. Then we'll just connect it to the back of the helmet with this chunk of metal here. Make sure these two are separate with control brush. And then we'll smooth it out so it's not separated from itself. Maybe go in here a bit. Okay, it's quite distinct. Now we can just connect this little bit of machinery to the edge of the visor and the earpiece. Doesn't necessarily need flattening, good. And now we will come across to these side plates. These will need a bit of flattening, but first I'll just add some mass around the edges. A bit too much, smaller brush. There, that's good. And add that bit there. So we're really changing the angle of the plane. Then we'll get that, get it about the right size. Scrape along there and smooth over. Okay, looks good. We'll just add some detailing. Maybe subdivide further a bit. Now working with much smaller detail, I'll press Control, dig kind of a groove in with a smaller brush. Get this circular piece going. Then work this around the edge, smooth it over, So we get a nice sharp crease along there, much better than before. Then we'll get in here, maybe do a reverse of this crease. So we'll crease in there, do a curve opposite this one, bring it down, and then add some pieces that attach the gas mask. So just that goes in. We want it to come out, so don't hold control. Scratch it along there. Add a second one, double the strength. Looks pretty good. The mask. Yeah, I think this looks good. I think we'll just add a plug-in point for an oxygen pipe. So get it about big enough. Good. Scratch along there and press Control to dig in where the pipe will enter. So that looks very good. We'll scratch along there, add some more mass so we can get a more distinct crease and smooth it off with the rest. Again, so it's not separated from itself. There, that's much more distinct than before. Looks much better. Ooh, bit of smoothing required here. Looks good. And we want that edge a bit more creased. So because the flatten tool didn't work earlier, we'll just use this crease tool. No, that's too much. We'll add to 0.5. Still too much. Get it smaller. Looks pretty good, but we don't want it to dig in as such. So I'll go back to add, get rid of that, and get a smaller brush. Then what we can do is just smooth off the edges of that here, and on the other side. So the crease is just a crease, it's not really any added mass. And all in all, I think this turned out quite well. We'll just add, say, a strap to hold the mask there, because we've got it anchored there and there. But we want it anchored at the top of the head as well. So I'll bring, with this clay strips, maybe we'll adjust the curve of it. So it's currently quite a curved sided thing. Maybe if we go with this one, it'll create a much more sharp-edged thing. So we'll start there and drag it along the side, going over the top plate, and maybe connect around the back. That's not organic enough. We want it to bend slightly. It's not metal, it's cloth folding over. Smooth the top. Then maybe have some kind of anchor point at the back, or maybe two. We'll go like that. Now maybe along there, between the back plate and the top plate. Works pretty well. Then we'll just add maybe some little bits. Maybe we have like a computer chip here that controls the HUD. So we'll add just a plate. And the plate will be level with the rest of it, but we'll just add this groove around the side where it fits in. Looks pretty good. And now all that's left is to add some slight little grooves here to make it look more like metal plating. So I'll add maybe a cut along here. Maybe some dents in there where we can put bolts in. And we'll zoom in and add in the center there. And go back along the side. So we'll replicate this along here with Control, More control. No, that's too much. Just there. No, that's too far in. Too far in. There. And we'll replicate those bolts in the back. So, control. And then we'll zoom in a bit so we get a smaller area affected. And build on the bolts in the center. Pretty good. Okay guys, so that's done. Now stay tuned for the next episode where I'll teach you hard surface modeling and we'll go over this to create the actual model. It'll look much better than the sculpt, believe me. Well, I'll see you then.